everybody? It's Christian here. I know it's been a while since I've been making videos, but I figured what a way to make a comeback than talk about the most popular movie in theaters right now, Avengers Infinity War. Before I start, just so you guys know, if any of you do not want to hear any spoilers or anything like that, you guys have been warned. Um, so yeah, in my opinion, I think this is probably the best MCU movie by far in the MCU. I'm willing to argue that, movies like Civil War and Black Panther really fight with this movie, but in my opinion, it's my favorite MCU movie. Just a lot of things about this movie are really good. A lot of big moments, you know, a lot of things that we were expecting, some things we weren't expecting, especially the ending of the movie. Um, so basically, I'm gonna start with my overall thoughts of the movie, from the character development, from the teams to the battles. It was a really amazing movie throughout. I know a lot of people were expecting this movie to be not so great, considering the fact that they are juggling between three teams and ultimately like four different narratives when you really think about it. Thanos narrative, Iron Man's team narrative, Thor's team narrative, and Cap and Vision's like team narrative. And I can understand why people would be a little bit, a little bit on the fence about it, considering the fact that they are juggling between three teams. But I really feel like the movie did a really good job overall. They did have to cut out some characters like Valkyrie, Korg, and Meek. Ant-Man the Wasp, and Hawkeye were not even in the movie, and I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed by that. But then again, we're probably gonna see them in Avengers 4, so we really can't really complain because we are gonna see them later on. And it pretty much has been revealed they managed to survive at the end of Infinity War, so they will be in Avengers 4. But to basically talk about what happened in the movie, basically, this was Thanos' movie. This movie, overall, from beginning to the end, was about Thanos, his journey from collecting all the stones to eventually doing the snap, and him, winning in the very end of the movie. He won. And I think a lot of people were kind of iffy some people were shocked by the ending that Thanos won, but I feel like it made sense simply because, this is a villain that they've been building up to for the past 10 years. And a lot of people, I remember watching the very first Avengers movie with my dad, and I remember looking at the post-credit scene, and I'm just like, who is that purple guy? That purple guy in space in the end of the movie, in the post-credit scene. But then eventually, we eventually saw later on in the MCU with Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, we eventually saw that, it was Thanos. So I feel like for them to really, build up Thanos, they really had to do something really, really good with him. And I feel like Thanos is the best MCU villain. I have a conflict of interest when it comes to him, simply because, Thanos was a really great villain, but also at that point, before I saw the movie, Eric Killmonger from Black Panther was my, all-time favorite Marvel villain, simply because, his narrative, the reason why he's bad and why he was bad and all that stuff, made me care about him as a character and a villain. And then with Thanos, it's the same, but to an extent, and the fact that Thanos actually went ahead and won over, instead of Eric Killmonger, who lost. I really do feel like this was a really good way for for not only them to properly introduce Thanos, but at the same time, make him come off as the best and the most powerful villain that the Avengers and the Guardians have ever fought. They really had to have him win, and based on the end of the story, it really does, play into the fact that he is going to be in Avengers 4, and judging by the ending, they really have to, the Avengers really have to do all they can to really defeat Thanos. And to talk about the ending, basically by the end of the movie, throughout the movie they have fought Thanos, and throughout the movie Thanos was collecting the gems, and we all knew we knew where 5 of the 6 gems were, but the one gem that a lot of people were speculating on for the past couple of years was the Soul Stone. And in this movie, they finally revealed where the Soul Stone was. And how they revealed it was that when Thor was, retrieved by the Guardians and all that stuff, he was telling them about the stones. He was saying, like, no one knows where the Soul Stone even is. Like, if people think it just doesn't exist. And Gamora was very, they cut to Gamora and she had a very, like, shocked and very, like, mysterious look on her face. And it was later revealed in the movie that she knows where the Soul Stone was. And she, was lying to Thanos, like, saying that she doesn't know where it is. And they eventually revealed that it was on the planet Vormir, where the Guardian of the Soul Stone was, protecting it. And it was revealed that the Guardian of the Soul Stone was the Red Skull. And a lot of people, I was very shocked by it. I was like that was like the one movie I was like, what? And I was like very like surprised by it. And basically, the Red Skull basically, talked about how in order for Thanos to retrieve the Soul Stone, he must make a sacrifice. And he, sacrificed Gamora in order for him to get the Soul Stone. This whole sequence alone was really well done. And I think this was probably, like, besides, like, the finger snap, I think this was the best scene in the whole movie, and, like, the best death of the whole movie, simply because, it was very, like, emotional and all that stuff. Some people were not even expecting it. And the fact that, like, Gamora, like, the shot of her getting thrown off the cliff by Thanos, and her shot of, like, her falling down the cliff and her being like, no, and all that stuff, that whole scene in general, like, it was a real gut punch and, like, really made you, like, realize, even though Thanos, loved Gamora, he had to do what he had to do to get the stones that he needs. And, and basically, he talks about, like, throughout the movie, like, he starts with having the Power Stone. He gets the Space Stone when he attacks Thor's ship, like the Asgard ship from the end of Thor Ragnarok, and he gets the Space Stone from Loki. Thanos actually kills Heimdall and Loki, and then uses the Power Stone to destroy the ship. That's how Thor ran into the Guardians. And then he gets the Reality Stone from the Collector. The Guardians showed up. They were, like, telling them they thought they were going to battle Thanos, but it turns out that Thanos actually got the Reality Stone, and he altered reality to where, like, they thought that they have killed Thanos, but Thanos is actually alive, and he kidnaps Gamora, and then, Gamora tells him that the Soul Stone's on Vormir, and the reason why she tells him is because he was torturing Nebula. So Nebula eventually meets up with the Guardians on Titan. That's where Tony, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man ended up being. And then that whole sequence leads to the battle on Titan. After Thanos gets the Soul Stone, he then battles Tony's team, and it eventually leads to, them holding down Thanos, them getting the gauntlet off. And after watching the movie, a lot of people were pissed at Peter Quill, because Peter Quill finds out that Thanos sacrificed Gamora to get the Soul Stone, and Peter was pissed because he loves Gamora. And a lot of people were mad at Peter. But then again, when you really think about it, the fact that, like, Peter, like, he watched his mother die of cancer. He realized his dad killed his mother and he had to kill his father. And the fact that he just found out that, like, his girlfriend died, you can't really be mad at Peter for that. And also the fact that Yondu died too, he was like, I can understand why Peter was mad. And if this was reversed with Tony, and Tony found out that Pepper Potts died, that would, Tony would do the exact same thing. So, you can't really be mad at Peter for that. But they really played this off really well. Thanos was about to kill Tony Stark, and then Doctor Strange, who, keep in mind, he said earlier on in the movie that that if he had to choose between saving the team and protecting the Time Stone, he would protect the Time Stone. But he then looked into alternate realities to where, like alternate time, timelines, in which they fought Thanos, and he looked at, I think it was like 14 billion or 14 million and something along those lines, and out of all those ones, there was only one that they actually won, and he and Doctor Strange eventually, gives up the Time Stone to save Tony Stark's life, and that basically plays into the fact that Tony Stark is going to have a major influence in the next movie. Then we go to back to Earth. Vision, he is getting his ass kicked by the Black Order. He, along with Scarlet Witch and Steve Rogers, Black Widow, Hawkeye, they meet up with Rhodey, and Rhodey then they eventually bring back the team eventually meets back up with Rhodey, and it turns out that Rhodey actually met up with Bruce Banner. And going back to earlier when Thanos was attacking the Asgard ship, Heimdall, before he died, he used the last remaining abilities to have to move to bring Hulk to Earth, which Hulk eventually meets Doctor Strange and Tony Stark, and then eventually, this whole movie was just long and it had a lot of jumping back and forth. So eventually, the rest of the team make it to Wakanda, in which Shuri was trying to take the time, was trying to remove the Mind Stone from Vision, but the Black Order, along with the Outriders, they were really, they had a whole war on Wakanda, which I thought this battle looked really good, but the fact that they were trying to juggle a lot of other things, I felt like that battle felt kind of pushed to the backside in order for them to try to keep all of the all the stuff in the movie going on. And this really goes more for Thor, Rocket, and Groot, who went to I forgot what the name of the planet is, or the name of the place is, to get a new hammer, which is revealed as Stormbreaker. Thor, after he gets Stormbreaker, Rocket, and Groot went to Wakanda. And this was probably the best part of the whole movie, and my favorite part of the whole movie. Just seeing Thor come to Wakanda, and then him being like, bring me Thanos, and then he's running, and then he jumps in the air with Stormbreaker and the lightning. That was my favorite part of the whole movie, and I was really, really happy. Every time I see it, I get goosebumps. It's honestly my favorite part of the whole movie. So then, Thanos eventually comes to Earth. He comes to Wakanda. He takes out the rest of the Avengers, and Scarlet Witch uses whatever power she has left to destroy the Mind Stone while it's in Vision's head, killing Vision. She succeeded. She destroyed the Mind Stone along with Vision. Thanos, realizing what Scarlet Witch just did, because he has the Time Stone from Doctor Strange, he uses that to reverse time a little bit, so that way Vision was still alive. He then grabs Vision and pulls the Mind Stone out of his head, completely destroying Vision. And he throws Vision on the ground, puts the Mind Stone in, realizing he has all the stones. Thor was pretty much the last line of defense. He threw Stormbreaker into Thanos' chest. They have this cool sequence where it's Thor was saying to Thanos, I told you I'm gonna make you pay for killing Heimdall, for killing Loki and all that stuff. And Thanos says, you should have gone for the head, and snaps his fingers. The whole screen just cuts to white, and then cuts to Thanos on the Soul Plane, in the Soul Stone. This was revealed. I think this was confirmed by the directors. He was in the Soul Stone along with the little girl version of Gamora. Gamora then says, did you do it? And he was like, yeah. And he said, what did it cost? And he was like, everything. And then it cuts back to Wakanda. The gauntlet is shattered. It's shattered. It's destroyed. It looks like all the stones are still, were able to work, because he then uses the Space Stone to teleport himself out of Wakanda. And, that the Avengers realize, what did he just do? And them confused, they eventually realized that some of the other Avengers were disappearing. Like what Thanos said he was going to do, he was going to wipe out half of the universe with a snap of his fingers, which he did, causing the deaths of the Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Groot, Falcon, some of the Wakandans, um, the majority of the Guardians that were on Titan, except for Nebula, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. Spider-Man's death was probably my second favorite scene in the whole movie, simply because Tom Holland's performance, knowing that it was actually improvised, that whole scene was improvised. I think that, and honestly, that was probably my second favorite sequence of the whole movie. Just the way that Tom Holland, portrayed, improvised the whole death scene, him grabbing Tony saying, "I don't want to go." This was honestly, a really well done scene. And knowing that, by the end of the movie, the last remaining Avengers, which surprisingly, the original 6 Avengers, us knowing that Hawkeye's going to be in Avengers 4, the original 6 Avengers lived. Rocket, War Machine, Nebula, they all lived. So basically, the rest of the team's like, what just happened? And then it cuts to Thanos. I think that this was this whole shot was taken from the comics, him being on a nice, beautiful, sunset or whatever, and him looking at the sunset with a look of contentment on his face, and that's how the movie ends. Thinking about this ending, a lot of people were like, "Oh, because he killed Black Panther, he killed Doctor Strange, and he killed Spider-Man, that obviously reveals they're gonna come back," which I agree to, simply because that's probably what's gonna end up happening, because they are gonna reverse some of the deaths, but I feel like if they just didn't kill off Spider-Man, it would have been more obvious. It wouldn't have been as obvious to some of the fans that they are gonna reverse time. And I feel like they did not expect at all. And I knew they were expecting Black Panther to be successful, but I think Disney didn't expect how successful Black Panther was gonna be, because and to be honest, Black Panther's death shocked me into silence. Literally, I was just sitting in the theater chair with my friends, and I was literally just from that point on to halfway through the credits, I was literally just this, in my chair, just sitting here in silence, just with a look of me being pissed off on my face, and it was because I was just shocked by this whole movie. So basically, by the end of this movie, Thanos won, and that's why I feel like this is a really great movie, simply because not only did they allow the villain to win, it really kind of puts the thought in the thought in the mind of the fans, them not knowing what's gonna happen, and it's been leaving a lot of people to speculate for Avengers 4, how's Avengers 4 gonna go? And I can definitely see some of the things about it. This movie is gonna be, Avengers 4 is a real wild card, because none of us know what exactly is gonna happen. They are really keeping Avengers 4 under wraps. And they've even said they're not gonna do a huge Comic-Con panel this year because of Avengers 4. So I can definitely see them, keeping most of the movie under wraps until, later on this year, when they finally release a teaser for Avengers 4. And me and my friends have been discussing, we really believe that Avengers 4 is going to be Avengers Endgame for the subtitle. We believe it's going to be Avengers Endgame. If you guys have any ideas of what the subtitle will be, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's not forget about the end credit scene. The end credit scene alone, with Tony Stark, with Nick Fury and Maria Hill in the SUV driving through New York, them realizing that half of reality was disappearing. Maria Hill disappears. Then Nick Fury goes to his car, he grabs a beeper, and he starts, trying to start something on the beeper, and he's disappearing. As he's fading away, he goes, "Oh mother," and then he fades away, dropping the beeper on the floor. It zooms in on the pager, and it shows the Captain Marvel logo. And This essentially brings up, this eventually like is a major, a major thing saying like they're saying that Captain Marvel will be in Avengers 4. And ultimately, it's a real wild card. We don't know what will happen in Avengers 4. So I think us being able to speculate is probably the best thing that we can do for now, at least until later on in the year. I'm probably going to say, in my prediction, I think Avengers 4, like, them saying what the subtitle is, I think they're going to save it by the time of, like, New York Comic Con, maybe in, like, September or October. And then next November, like this upcoming November, I feel like that's when they're going to drop the trailer for it. But ultimately, who knows? We don't know for sure what will happen in Avengers 4. So, yeah, I think that's what's going to end up happening. Like I mentioned before, I think Avengers Endgame is going to be the subtitle. That's my prediction. And ultimately, that's the best that we can do for now. It's just speculate. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Infinity War? Make sure to leave a comment down below on your opinions of Infinity War. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe for more videos. My name's Christian, and I'll see you guys next time.